Hi and welcome to Pilates Ibiza. My name is Ivana and today I have a very special guest with me, Dirk Nellens, who is gonna share with us. Hi Dirk.
Hi Ivana.
He's gonna share with us about human design. So I've been hearing about human design for many years, but I've never really come across it until you came to my studio.
Oh really?
Yes. And the day you asked me about my date of birth and the hour of birth, you just pulled up quickly few things, and I was like, wow, it was very like spot on everything that you said.
Yeah, I mean, people living in Ibiza that haven't heard about human design is in some way or another, basically human design was born in Ibiza, so we're in its birthplace here, and it's a very strange information basically, and it can do a lot of things for you. I mean, basically let's talk first a little bit about how it came into being, no? Because that was in January 1987.
Wow.
Like Ibiza was a little bit more hippie back then, and less crowded the way that it is today. And there was a man who was of Canadian origin, who was living in a small little ruina, more or less at the height of the, where the pump station is when you go to San Juan? Like there up in the mountains.
Okay,
no?
nice place.
Yeah, somebody had given him a key to a little ruina, and he was living there kind of like alone with a dog, and it was a very strange character. And his name was actually Alan Robert Krakauer, but everybody on the island called him Ra. And in January 1987, I think it was on the 3rd of January, he stepped into this little ruina, and all of a sudden he started basically, like, he stepped into the ruina, his dog went first, his dog fell dead. And he started losing all of his body liquids. Like there was a pool of water under him. And he started hearing a voice. And this experience, which he described later on, and he made some kind of a documentary on it, close to that big, huge pine tree that is in San Miguel.
Ah, I live close by.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like he made a documentary on it. It's called Encounter with a Voice, and you can find it on Google.
Okay.
And he describes it as a very painful experience that lasted 8 days and nights. And if you listen to it, it's a really wacko story.
Wow.
And so this went on for 8 days and nights. He had his dog basically shoved under the desk that was in that little ruina, and he had his feet on the dog, and the dog was lifeless for 8 days. No food, no water, nothing. And when the experience was finished, the dog stepped up and ran into the fields.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a very strange origin that human design has. And when he came out of that experience, he has been teaching and putting out this information in the world for 25 years, with an with an incredible dedication actually, and under the name Ra Uruhu. Like that was the source of the information, gave him that kind of name. And so you tap Ra Uruhu into Google these days, and you'll find all the stuff that is there on human design. And like, I come from a background in social anthropology. Okay, I studied first I studied law, and I finished my studies, but it never really appealed to me. I was way much more into traveling and discovering different cultures and tribes and all that kind of stuff. So in the end, I signed up to study anthropology somewhere in London, and in those days, which was also the beginning of the 90s, there was a very interesting question being asked in social sciences. And the question is basically, when you study anthropology, okay, and we were a bunch of people, 20, 30 people, we all went bananas after a month or like 2 months. Everybody in some way or another was in a crisis. And why were we in a crisis when you study anthropology? Because you start recognizing that everything that you think is natural, that you consider, oh, this is just normal, you know, everybody does it. There is always some tribe on earth that goes about it differently. You know, so from very basic stuff, I call my mom, mom, and my dad, dad, and like, that's the most normal thing in the world. Like, nope. There's some tribes that go about the reference of their kinship differently, that express like metaphysical concepts through kinship differently. I think it's normal, for example, that if you come here and you drive away with my car, I go like, what the hell is going on? Like, you know, it's like, it's not normal. It's based on basically a material conditioning that I've been identified with. Okay, so when you study anthropology and you read about all these kind of tribes and stuff, you realize, my God, who are we really? Okay.
Good question.
And the thing is this, one of the questions that was raised was, there is this enormous variety of expression. We express ourselves culturally and socially and legally and materially and religiously and kinship-wise, and you know, there's an enormous variety of expression, which, by the way, is getting less and less and less because we're getting more and more homogenized. You know, tribes are disappearing under our eyes. And the question was, is all of this human expression limited or unlimited? And it's a very weird question, because the same question I can ask you about our biology. I mean, physically speaking, we are all unique. You know, I have a brother that looks very much like me, and still we are not the same. I educated twins, and you know, they were identical, and still they're not the same. We're all unique, okay? And is this uniqueness limited or unlimited? And obviously the first answer is like, no, of course, I mean, it's unlimited, okay? But from another perspective, it's limited, because it is the expression of a code, a genetic code. And in that genetic code, there is no elephant ears or, you know, yellow fluorescent eyes. So there are certain limitations within the code that then this code is expressed unlimitedly. And this code mutates and goes through all kinds, and it evolves and everything, okay? But there is a limitation in there. And the same answer is given in terms of our energetic nature. So there is a certain code to our energetic being, and that code to our being, which actually is our limitation, but we will never think about it as our limitation because we don't know anything beyond it, okay? But that code is what is reflected in a human design body graph. When you look at a human design body graph, and I guess we'll have one on the screen now, people are able to see like, oh wow, that is actually the human energetic code that we all live in. And as such, I mean, you know, I came across human design when I was living in Barcelona, more or less at the same time as you, no, a little bit earlier than you, in the beginning of the 2000 something, early 2003. And I was basically working in Barcelona for the International Forum of Cultures, you know, the huge event they did there in 2004, close to the Bessos River and all that kind of stuff. And there was a magazine back then in Barcelona, it was called La Otra Barcelona. And basically, it's like, can you imagine that you're sitting at a hairdresser in 1952 and that you are reading in a magazine the discovery of the human genetic code? And you go like, what the hell? Like, there is a code that we live in? And basically, that's what happened back then to me. Like, it's like, when I read about human design, I got in touch with human design, I got to know human design, you basically get to see, oh wow, like this is our energetic code and we all live in it. And that's incredible because it allows you to understand how Mother Nature, okay, is anchored within us and how she functions through us. You know, it's like, we're all designed for, and there's social scientists and people that, like Brené Brown, who's on internet. It's one of the most famous TED Talks, and there's a Netflix documentary on her and stuff. And she says, like, human beings are wired to belong. We're hardwired to belong. So she's already referring to this code because that's our energetic hardwiring. And she says, okay, we're hardwired to belong. The only thing is, you don't understand how the hardwiring works. Because the hardwiring says, Mother Nature says, that you will never belong if you try to fit in. But most people are trying to fit in, looking for belonging. And it never comes. They do what their parents want them to do, what society wants them to do, what they think their girlfriend or their boyfriend wants them to do, and they try to fit in and they try to reach it, and they don't feel like they belong. And she says, for example, actually the code, the hardwiring and its mechanism works through tapping into your sensitivity and your vulnerability. So if I expose myself vulnerably and sensitively to you, and we're both sane human beings, you will also go like, oh, okay, I see you, or I hear you, or I pay attention to you, and Mother Nature brings a sense of belonging through that, you know? It's like, okay, so we're here, we're there for each other, we're okay, thank you for listening to me, thank you for being, you're like, okay, in this little moment there is a sensation that we belong here.
That's right.
And human design lays out the full human energetic hardwiring. So we are also designed, for example, to be self-empowered. Like when you bring up a child, okay, in the very early stages of the upbringing of the child, there is actually an energy inside of you as a parent or a caregiver that says like, I want you to be on your own as soon as possible. I'm going to give you a hand to help you walk. And it looks like I'm really there for you, okay? But actually, I'm not at all. I'm going to pull away one finger and another finger and another finger and another finger so you can spine up as soon as possible and you're on your own. And I can clean you up for a year or 2 or 3, you know, but then I'm really going to like urge you to do that alone. So we are hardwired to be self-empowered. We are hardwired to share. We are hardwired to be empowered in our own spirit, in our creativity, in our possibility of going our own way in life, of bringing something unique to existence. So human design, the body graph of human design lays out the whole energetic hardwiring and explains how that hardwiring works. And as such, that's incredible information because it's very, very basic information on what it is to have a human experience. And human design goes way further, because like this dog actually was a very important element in the transmission of human design knowledge. Because Ra was concerned about the well-being of his dog, and started asking, like, is my dog okay, to whatever intelligence was there in the room. And the intelligence in the room started transmitting the energetic hardwiring and the codes of mammals, of fish, of fowl, of insects, of plants, of cells. So we have an incredible like database of knowledge in human design on, you know, what's the design of this tree, or what's the design of this rock, or what's the design of my cat or my dog, and, like, you know, it's very interesting in that sense. And then, because this is basic information, no, this should be in schools. It's just like, okay, how does life work? It's nice to know. It's very, you know, enriching. The next step is, and there is where it's weird, because human design has been laid out by one of the most intelligent men I've ever come across. Okay, and the difficulty then is that there is an esoteric element in design. You got to give me the time that you were born, the date that you were born, the place that you were born, so that we can see how you personally, Ivana, are anchored in this code. So what is your specific design? What makes you unique? What makes you you? And how is Mother Nature anchored in you? And how can you go through your life in an ecological way with the intelligence of Mother Earth? And a lot of people hook off there. Because a lot of people go like, oh, well, you know, I give you my birth time and this seems like to be astrology and I don't believe in this. And instead of actually, you know, being intrigued and kind of like really, wow, is that possible? Let me see, you know? Like healthy skepticism is actually, it's very healthy in a way. So when you give your personal data and you look at your design or the design of your friends or the design of your brothers, sisters, parents, lovers, kids, you get to see how, like, the uniqueness, the individuality, the beauty, the life spark of that person works. And what you are here to be seen for. Okay? So when I saw your design, for example, and anybody coming to your studio can you know, acknowledge it, okay, is that you're basically designed to be very involved with one person at a time. And in that involvement with one person at a time, you are transmitting well-being. And you are showing, like, you're basically helping a person to be surrendered to their body and to the intelligence of their body. And you have another asset, so an energetic asset that makes you really you, okay? And that is that you are very, very organized and detailed. So anybody working with you goes like, no, you know, 1 centimeter to the left and 1 centimeter to the right, because I want to make sure that the way that I'm transmitting this well-being to you is really, you know, in minutia to the best of your uniqueness or whatever goes on with whatever, you know, spinal issue you might have. You know, you're very, very, very detailed. And when you give your one-on-one attention to somebody, there is a deep penetration and reading of the other person. So you're really, 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 really there for them. I have fun with it because for me it's interesting. It's like, oh, okay, I get to see you when you're working, for example. But for you also, what design can give you is, okay, how am I actually going about through my life with the less resistance possible? So we all, I mean, you are into you know, you're really, obviously you're really with pure Pilates into the physical, but you're also into the meditation, and you know that meditation is basically disentangling from all of the identifications we have with our mind. So we're not really designed to make decisions based on our minds, because our minds are not in, that's not the purpose of having a mind. I mean, even John Lennon knew this. It's like, you know, life is taking place while you are making other plans. So you're thinking the whole day long. You know, that's not what you're designed. Like, your mind is able to in its like the consciousness that mind offers, or that a neocortex offers, is a consciousness that can be in wonder of life and present to life and seeing life, and, you know, self-reflective consciousness basically. And human design offers to each person it shows basically what intelligence inside of you is actually there to guide you through your life. So when we look at your design, for example, we see like, okay, you really here to feel that somebody else is energetically available to you. So if I come to your studio and I'm like, you know, I'm here for you, you know, like I really want to work. I really want to do something with my body, and I want to, I mean, me, for example, I want to pay attention to, you know, a lower back hernia that I had at some point, and I really want to make sure. So I'm there, you know. You tell me what I need to do, and I'm there to do it. So you have an availability of energy on the other side. That's basically called an invitation. I'm inviting you to guide me to surrender more to the well-being of my body in detail and to organize it in some way or another. I'm coming for you, okay? And it is your instincts, like it's your instinctual, you know, it's almost like something that you can pick up in the pheromones, okay? It's an immediate recognition in the body that says like, yeah, this is an invitation for me or not. But you trying to push energy, you, for example, trying to convince somebody that Pilates is the best thing they should do and that they should go for and da 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 da, it ain't necessarily working into your advantage. Because the energy ain't necessarily there for you. You're really somebody that is designed, and Mother Nature is speaking through you like that, and she's saying like, you know, you're really here for the guidance of the energy of another. So make sure that the other is energetically available to you, because if not, it's going to be a hard job for you. And you end up feeling bitter or going like, you know, moron, why don't you pay attention to this? I've repeated it 5 times, I'm saying it over and over again, you're not paying any attention. Like, you know, all that stuff starts coming out. And, I mean, you know, it's something when you know, there's a woman here on the island, you know, her kids went to the same, to Morna. They were in the same class or something like that with the kids of Ra, and you know, we got in touch through Human Design. I did a reading for her son, and she has got 3 children, okay, and she's applying, she's seeing like, well, I got one child whose intelligence and whose uniqueness works like this, and I got another child whose uniqueness and intelligence works like this, and I got another child who is even completely different. So through Human Design, you get to see your children, and you are able to approach your children in their uniqueness. And that's one of the first main advantages of knowing design, you know, is that you know how to approach Mother Nature's life sparks for who or what they are. It's like you can have a dog who has a design that says like, you know, can't be attached. You can't put him on a leash. Okay? And if you know that about your dog, you know, it's like, okay, this is my dog. Like, I let this creature run around free, and that's not what's going to happen here. So there is a possibility. For example, you know, the host of where we are now, right now, he has a son, and he's got a very defiant design. So whenever you approach him, what you get is no. But it's great to know when you're educating a kid like that. You know, if not, you're like, you know, you're like, no, every time I say something, you know, like, no, I mean, it's actually designed to do that. You know, so now, obviously, there is many aspects to design. This is like a little bit of an introduction, but in the line of your work, when you look at a human design body graph, and you get to see, and you can check that out online, you know, you tap in your data in Jovian Archive or any other human design site where they offer free charts, and you get to see your design. And there's apps and everything, so, I mean, it's easy these days. And you get to see your design. You get to see something about yourself that explains a lot of stuff. But then you also get to see that life takes place in the body. And basically it's the body and its intelligence that runs your life. It's not your mind.
I agree.
And there, obviously, my personal exploration and how I got to your studio and the work that I'm doing with you, there is where, like, this is really interesting. Because for most people, okay, healthily going through life, being able to tap into their intelligence, being able to go through life in a satisfying way, all comes through what you are pointing out to me every time I come to your studio. It's all about being in your powerhouse. It's all about being in this space, you know, between the navel and your sexual organs and your solar plexus. Like, that's the core power and intelligence from where, you know, life is basically flowing out. So if we are not in touch with that, and you know, it all reflects through the body, then obviously it expresses into our personal lives. You know, that's why I find your work so interesting. It's really, you know, it's in line with the intelligence of Mother Nature. It shows, like, you gotta have a good and healthy and you know, strong, I don't know, you know better than me how to express this, but this powerhouse over here that you're, you know, paying so much attention to, it's obvious that it's one of the core aspects of being and living in a healthy body. And then you can have a healthy mind. And the observation of mind, when you look at a human design chart, you see that in your personal human design chart, there is stuff that is colored in, and that's the life force that you are emanating. And in design, we explain how that intelligence works. And then most of the chart actually is in some way or another white or open. It just stays white. And it doesn't mean like I don't have that energy. It means whatever energy those white spaces are referring to, that energy you are receptive to. So when you are receptive to energy, your mind tries to run the show. Now, there where you are receptive to energy, your mind starts building defense mechanisms and freaking out and trying to hold on and doing all kinds of stuff. So when you get to a human design reading and you know, this is very basic stuff. I mean, you sit there for an hour and a half to explain it to you, but there's a whole, this is information that needs to be explored. You know? So anybody who is engaged in meditation and looking at their minds, they can benefit from design, because actually the openness in a person's design describes your mental defenses. So for example, I am receptive to emotional energy. And emotional energy in design is described. How does that work? So emotional energy, for example, is a wave of nervousness that goes excitatory or inhibitory. So you know, it's like, you know, happy and jolly and all that kind of stuff is excitatory emotional nervousness. And I'm on the receptive side, the way you are. So you also, you feel that coming in, okay? And then there is the inhibitory nervousness. So instead of going like out, 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 it goes in. And I'm also receptive to that. Now I live with an emotion, with a person who emanates a wave. Like we meet each other, basically one of my best friends, so we see each other a lot and we spend some time together. And then, so when his emotional wave is going up, I am receiving like, ooh, yeah, wow, nice. And when his emotional wave goes inhibitory, I'm all, ooh. And I'm, given that I'm open there, I have a mental defense that says, I don't want to feel this. So I'm trying to push away that feeling by asking, is anything okay? Is everything fine? Are you okay? Maybe I did something. Maybe I'm guilty because you feel like I don't know what's going on. I pick it up. There's nothing I can do about it. I just pick it up. I'm open there. So I get to see what my mind is doing. It's basically hijacking me on that front. Okay? And it's not allowing me to really feel what is just taking place. There's days when the sun is out and there's days when it rains. We don't make a big deal out of it. But when it goes on with the emotional wave of another person, all of a sudden we make a huge deal out of it. You don't love me anymore, you do this, you do that, blah, blah, what did I do, blah, blah. Like we make a huge deal out of it. And when you get to see those basic things about life, it's like, okay, you know, the mind can learn to relax. So that's another aspect that design offers. So yeah, you never heard about it, but it's quite, you know, I think it's a very basic education. Very basic education. It's not some kind of mumbo jumbo weird stuff, esoteric stuff. No, it's basically just, you know, in some ways or another, I don't know anything about, you know, Joe Pilates, but it's also just basic stuff. I mean, the guy is just explaining, you know, this is the way that we're designed to be holding ourselves and sitting in our body, and this is how energy works. And I think that nowadays, you know, where the world is going so bananas in a way, you know, it's like, if there is one thing clear to me about this whole COVID pandemic that we are living, it is that nobody knows. And it's very difficult to know who to pay attention to. Some people say Bill Gates is the Antichrist. Other people think that he's really helping out. Some people think it comes from a lab. Some people say that it just comes through a bat. Some people do, like, you know, there's information flying in all directions, coming from anywhere, and basically nobody knows really what the hell is going on. Okay? What the hell is going on from the source of it with our immune system, this, you know, the consequences that it can have, whatever it is. And this is only accentuating. Our politicians are not really in touch anymore with people living in the streets. Okay? Our economy is completely bloated. So these are all signs, like there's a lot of signs that there is a certain, like that there's aspects of civilization that are coming to an end. And this has been described, by the way, in human design. Like there is a whole chapter in design that talks about global cycles. And global cycles is basically information, it comes, like it's basically a little bit inspired by Shakespeare. Shakespeare said life takes place on a stage. So in design, we know how long those stages last and what they are influenced with. So for the last 411 years, actually from 1611, 1611 is more or less the beginning of the 30-year war between Protestants and Catholics, so in the north of Europe. In this period starts, that's where the last 411 years took off. And that whole stage of life, which is, you just have to imagine that we're sitting here, we're sitting in a bar for 400 years. Obviously, the fact that we're sitting in the bar is going to influence the conversation we have, the dynamics that go on, and all that stuff. So the stage, okay, which is a bar, changes, and all of a sudden they drop us in the desert for 400 years. Ooh, that's going to change. Me and you, we're not necessarily changing the conversation. We can still continue talking about, you know, whatever we're talking about, but the fact that we change stage after 400 years is going to have a serious impact on whatever goes on between us. The last 400 years have all been about the development of science. No? So we went away from belief, we went more, and we started, you know, soon after 1611, one of the most and the first people that came on the stage of life actually was Copernicus, saying like, listen, you know, the earth is round, you know, and it revolves around the sun. It was like, what? Yeah, like, and we, slowly, we went deeper and deeper. We went deeper and deeper and deeper into detail. We know, you know, we go all the way into atoms and electrons and, you know, what is it, quarks, and all the way down. And we came closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and closer together over 400 years. So now we're so close together that this video and this thing between me and you and this conversation is going to end up in somebody's living room. Very close together. We live in a global village. Okay? And the stage that this has been for 400 years, this has been playing out. Okay? We went from feudal Europe to European Union, to international nations, to all the kind of stuff. We went from, I don't know, I'm go to my banker, but now we are in international corporations where everything is linked to each other, which makes it also in some way or another more fragile. Because now that, you know, if one piece breaks, the whole chain breaks. And this is where we're going. So we are, the stage is changing, and actually the clicking point is 2027. You know, that's when actually You know, the guys who change the stage, you know, the one who in theater, you see them coming with, well, that's actually when the whole stage is like, now here's the new one, okay? And the new stage that we're moving towards is a stage that is really, really putting the attention on knowing how to make individual decisions based on your own intelligence, because you can't trust anything or anybody any longer. Nobody's gonna know for you. There ain't gonna be some kind of security system or father, I don't know who or whatever, that's gonna, you know, have your interests at stake. And this is clear. It's already very clear right now. You got to know for yourself what decisions to make, how to make, where to stand, where to go in, what to put in your body, what not to put in your body, who to relate with, who not to relate with. Like, and that's something that for each person is revealed through the intelligence of Mother Nature inside of them that is read through a human design chart. And that obviously can be reinforced by doing work with you, that, you know, can be reinforced by being engaged in meditation or in healthy eating, or like there's all kinds of supporting mechanisms, but they're individually oriented. It's not like, you know, the big state that is going to come and like, no, this is over. So, you know, this information and all the work that, you know, you are promoting, you are involved in, like I think we are, this is, it's quite essential to be going, to be joining forces, also saying like, well, you know, that's why I'm very grateful that you come here and do this interview, because I'm also able to say something about my work, and I enjoy your work. And, you know, it's obvious that we need to learn to rely more and more and more on ourselves. And that's what design can help with, for sure. It can help, you know, it's helpful in terms of relationships also, because at least you know who you're dealing with. I mean, I don't get annoyed when you say, well, every time I come to your studio, you're adjusting me to the millimeter. I'm not getting annoyed. I'm actually enjoying it because it's you. You are organized and detailed. It's a joy to be receiving such an attention. And then there is people, you know, if I wouldn't understand that that's part of Mother Nature inside of you, I could eventually get entangled with it, you know, and go like, you know, you're moving me every time, and why are you doing this to me, and yeah, but, you know, it's you. So it can help a lot in the way that we relate with other people. Yeah? And these people can be our lovers, our families, our friends. Like, you get to see who they are. You enjoy them for what they are. It definitely improved my family relationships.
Wonderful.
It enriches my friendships. So there's a lot of stuff there. So yeah, that's what I had to say about it. I don't know.
Awesome. So you can help us also understand us. Like if I have a reading, full reading with you about myself,
yeah,
then
of course.
I can work on some parts that maybe might be blocking me.
Yeah, it is an opening to an evolutionary journey in a way. It's an exploration design. You know, we are all at some level or another caught in our minds, and that being caught in our minds brings about suffering and resistance and sometimes sadness. Like, why can't I be more surrendered to life? I love it. And when you get to know your design, you get signposts of like, this is your mind. And every time I get entangled with a friend or a family, like anybody that I deal with, I can see like, oh, you know, I'm trying to avoid to feel stuff here, or I have a tendency not to value myself enough, or I can hold on to love and certain roles that I play for the wrong reasons, and then I get to see a piece of my mind. And this identifying from our mind is a very beautiful journey. I think at least that's what's been bringing me most joy in my life, when I can let go of my mind and just be here and enjoy whatever is there. Like, you know, even if it's just a flower, it's just, okay, wow, I'm in nature, great. So that you know, it's obviously, it is something that it offers, but at the same time, my own professional involvement with design also showed me that it's time, and there is a lot of space to explore. So we're also at there is a stage. Human design took about 25, 30 years. Well, Ra was busy with it for 25 years. And arduous work in putting it out. And, you know, thank him very much. But 25, 30 years, information has been coming out in a certain way. Okay? The time is more and more and more there to join forces in how to explore it further. You know? It's like, yes, Freud brought out stuff on the unconscious, but Fritz Perls turned it into Gestalt therapy and went deeper with it and went into that direction with it. Like, my personal feeling is that with design there is a similar dynamic that can take place. You know, it's like the information of design is out there, and then there is other interesting things, like, okay, design is saying to so many people, you know, empower your powerhouse. You know, let them go to Pilates, you know, let them work it, be there, do something, stand in it, feel it, you know, be in your guts, like live from your guts. Great. So I think that we are in a period where joining other forms of exploration is very interesting. Like, it's almost like going to a hospital. You know, it's like, when you go to a hospital, I would say that human design is the department of radiography. You get your radiography. You get to see, like, okay, this works like this is what's going on. This is that, that's you. Okay, good, great, thanks. Now you go to the physiotherapist and you work specifically this, or now you go to the, you know, to the cardiologist and you work that. Or, you know, so that's where I see that, yeah, it can give you an amazing view on who you are, how you function, how Mother Nature functions through you, where your mind gets entangled. But then, you know, you need to go to the right schools to learn further, to continue exploring further. So that's how I see it.
That's a very nice way of saying it. Radiografia, no?
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your time with us.
Thank you very much too. And yeah, I mean, I will continue to explore my powerhouse in pure Pilates and see how where that brings me, for sure. That's and you know, we can continue sharing stuff on design and this and that when we hang out.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot.
And tell us, how could people reach you? How can they
there's
find you?
two ways of reaching me. I live in Ibiza here, so I can do, I mean, I do personal human design readings, one-on-one, live. They last about an hour and a half, and I do them here, like close to the golf course. And if not, on my website,
So it's dirknellens.com.
Yeah, dirknellens.com.
We will put that under the video as well, so
Okay.
people
Thanks.
can reach you directly. Thank you so much for joining us, and we see you next time.